being from Jersey, you create these sort of underdog communities in this place. Like growing up, the music community I was involved in was happening in like fire halls in New Jersey. We didn't care about the really cool stuff going on in New York because that wasn't our world. It was almost, we wanted the opposite. We wanted something super tangible and community-based. And a lot of the punk bands from here, Springsteen, anything that's classic New Jersey, there's a huge sense of hope. There's like a cinematic feeling. It's larger than life because you have to dream these things. First people I played music with were my friends in like 6th and 7th grade. The first time we ever played live was early on. We played a party at the basement of this house, and I have never been so terrified in my life. People were like, well, are you good? And we were like, yeah, you know. And then we played and we weren't that good, but then we got better.
First band I remember working with Jack with was Outline. They recorded their demo in my dad's kitchen when I was living in Norwood, New Jersey.
Heath was the guy who made all the shows happen when we were like 14 and 15. He was a show promoter, and the funny thing is now he's a real show promoter who does like actual huge shows in New York. So I think when I was 15, I booked my first show, and we'd pack like 100 or 200 kids into these Legion halls, and no one even knew it existed.
You had so many bands in this area specifically, and it was like so concentrated, like every Friday or Saturday night, like there was always at least a show or two going on.
What was cool about that punk scene growing up in New Jersey was that everyone was involved. So all the bands that played also put on the shows, also sold their own merch, also made zines, and everyone contributed. It was a real community there.
Like I don't remember this door for sure.
Definitely don't remember the door.
And I remember the ceiling being higher. Yeah, and the pool
ceiling
table's
does
not
seem
here anymore.
crazy low, but that might just be because we were tiny.
I haven't grown that much.
Fair enough.
But
I remember shows were always here. We played our first show here with Juliana Theory. It was probably your show. And you recorded my first demo.
In my dad's kitchen.
Yeah, ever.
I still have those tapes.
You do?
Yeah.
I think it was $80 for the day to record.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I feel like I just have seen you every couple months for the past 15 years.
Yeah, I mean,
somewhere.
I'll run into you or your parents somewhere all the time.
Probably run into my parents more, right?
Yeah. I remember one time I remember the street you lived on, and I was like, oh, this is where my friend Jack used to live.
Still?
Yeah.
My parents are still there?
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
Well, his first tour was when he was 16, and he came to us and said, I really need to go out on, Warped Tour, and I'd like the van, and I can't drive because I don't have a license. And we gathered a meeting with the parents of the other band members who were deranged that we were doing this. We gave them our van, and they hit the road. And it was an intense decision to make as parents to let them go so young, because sometimes, with kids, you have to let them find their passion.
Jack formed Steel Train, and he graduated high school, I guess in June, and was on Warped Tour like 2 or 3 days later. So Steel Train went through a number of evolutions, and Jack and all of us became friends with Nate Roos. So when the format broke up, literally the next day, Nate, I guess he had no place else to go, so he flew here and moved into our house. And Andrew came in a few days later. And now the 3 guys are living here. That became fun. I used to come home and they'd be rehearsing in the living room, and they would have a song that was really going from the evolvement of an acoustic thing to instruments to getting more evolved and more professional, and it was really a blast.
And I think all the neighbors got a huge bang out of it. You talk about neighborhood support in New Jersey. I think as Jack developed and grew, it became a real source of pride. Through all the years, just hearing him write a new song and then come out and say, hey, this is a new one, and hear them being born. And so much of Jack's music, it really comes from here, and it comes from what he's been through in his life. He wrote about all of the women in his life after his sister and after his cousin was killed in Iraq, which happened 8 months after his sister died.
On a human level, Jack is an extremely feeling person. On a larger level, he's very concerned and focused and vocal about human rights and about people being treated properly.
Watching him develop through Steel Train, through those records, through Fun, and then ultimately Bleachers, because that's all him, was the sense of you do see the growth as a human being and coming out from really hard stuff.
So let's start the song. And welcome my dad to the stage, Jack Antonoff.
I always wanted to do a festival, and I always wanted to do it in New Jersey because so many great artists go to New York City and then skip over New Jersey because it's literally too close. The idea was there would be all this cool local Jersey stuff, and there'd be one stage with all these bands that I thought would be perfect. And the theme of the festival, Shadow of the City, to me is all about existing 5 minutes, 2 miles, within like earshot of the greatest city in the world. There's a new song I wrote called Shadow of the City, which is about growing up and sort of feeling less than and kind of making up for it and all the things that you dream. It's a special energy because it's the name of the festival, it's the name of the song, it's the name of the feeling that I have a lot. It's the reason why I do a lot of the things I do.
Being in front of a lot of people on a stage is pretty cool. And as a father, the larger thing about being on stage with him was the ability to share what he does for a living and what he's passionate about, and I could actually be part of that for some brief instant and just be able to share that with him.
To see someone be so passionate about what they do and be able to do it and to succeed at it, it's just the greatest thing. It's like a dream. That's what you want your kids to be able to do.
I think that being really honest and not being afraid to discuss the things you've been through and to discuss why you are the way you are and why you may or may not be complicated, that's the only way you can really give anything to people.
State Farm celebrates great artists and the good neighbors back home who help make them who they are today. For more artist stories, go to neighborhoodsessions.com.